The top 10 SMGs in Warzone Season 4 Reloaded. We're finally going to be getting a different meta, and with this meta shift, you will be seeing a few old weapons just sneak their way back into the top 10, and a couple new ones that people aren't using nearly enough. These will be the top 10 best close range SMGs, and number 10 is the MP7. This spot had a lot of options here, but I decided to go with one that's really versatile. The MP7 has a really good fire rate, it actually has pretty good mobility for a Modern Warfare SMG, and then on top of that, not only has a competitive time to kill up close because it is above average at 693, we're also going to have really good accuracy and solid range, so you're going to be able to use this thing up to 25-30 meters no problem. And that's kind of my personal favorite with SMGs, ones that are versatile and aren't locked into only being used inside of 8, 9, or 10 meters. I like SMGs where I can push the range a little bit if I have to. And if we get into the class setup really quickly, I'm going to start off with the mobile MP7 loadout, where you got the monolithic suppressor for range and recoil. Then we got the Forged Tack Ultralight for ADS walking speed, which is important. Sleight of hand because the damage per mag is slightly low, but sleight of hand will completely fix that because the reload so quickly. Then we got stippled grip tape for movement and the 50 round mag instead of the 60 because our movement speed is going to be much better. But if you want this gun to be super accurate, the only thing you have to change is really taking off the stippled grip tape and putting on the FSS recon, and then it's going to be even better out to mid range. And number 9, this was a fan favorite for the longest time ever, the Modern Warfare MP5. This thing still has a really good time to kill up close of 640 milliseconds, and it's still one of the top 3 hip-fire weapons in Warzone. And the problem with this that I don't like is that you only have a very limited range where it's usable, about 10 meters, and as I said, I like versatile SMGs, so that's why it's a little bit lower on the list. But this thing is amazing for Fortune's Keep and Rebirth. As you're going to be seeing, my gameplay using this weapon is exclusively on Fortune's Keep because I don't use it on Caldera. But this thing is really good in close quarters because it has a high time to kill, really good hip fire. The mobility is a little bit slow, which is why I'm going to hold it down from being higher on the list along with that range. Now if we get into the setup really quickly, if you want it to be the best hipfire SMG, you're going to go with the monolithic integral suppressor, 5MW laser, Merc 4 grip, 45 round mag, and stippled grip tape. This thing's going to be a hipfire machine. Just use this thing on the smaller maps and you're going to have a fun time. Number 8, the Modern Warfare AUG. This thing is going to have the best time to kill of any Modern Warfare SMG and Cold War SMG if you put on the 5.56 NATO ammo. So the only problem with this gun is you're either going to be having really bad damage per mag or really bad mobility depending on if you use the 30 or 60 round mag, but everything else on this gun is going to be great. We have good range, good accuracy, and a really good time to kill, and low recoil. So it's really easy to use, and you just got to make your pick depending on what mode you're in, and I'm going to get straight into the class setup. We got the monolithic tack laser, forged tack, CQB cone because that's going to help our ADS speed, and then we got stippled grip tape for some more ADS speed and sprint to fire. We're really trying to improve its mobility up close, and I got in the 60 round mag because I think anything past solos to 60 round mag is just going to be a little bit better, but you might be able to get away with it in duos if you got rid of stippled grip tape and threw on your sleight of hand. But personally, I really like this gun. It's just you're going to be moving a little bit slow, so you'd want to pair it with an AR that has really good mobility. Number 7, the Tommy gun, or the M1928. I have an entire video dedicated to this SMG because people don't realize how good it is if you set it up properly. If you don't put on one attachment, the time to kill is going to be way below average, but if you put on all the correct ones, you get a 605 millisecond TTK, which is going to be better than guns like the MP40, the Marco, and even that Modern Warfare MP5 I just went over. But this is another SMG that I think will be better on Fortune's Keep and Rebirth because it's going to be more of a close quarters weapon. You can't really use it past about 13, 14 meters. Once you get past that range, the time to kill drops off and the recoil is a bit too much to control. But up close, this thing absolutely melts and drops players. Like, I'm sure you can tell in the gameplay in the background that this Tommy gun is really melting players. I was really happy when I figured out that this thing could be good, and I noticed that no one's using it. Like, less than 0.2% of the player base picks it in their loadouts, and less than 10% of people have on the correct attachment to make the time to kill good. So let's just get into the setup really quickly. And the important attachment is going to be this Chariot Rapid Barrel that gets your fire rate up. You will see it lowers your sprint to fire and accuracy, but we're going to fix that in other categories. Then you need the recoil booster and this 9mm 50 round mag, and this is how you get the excellent TTK. And luckily this 50 round mag helps us with recoil control and accuracy because it's needed. Then I throw in a Carver foregrip because the recoil is a bit nasty, and this is going to do a little bit more than the hand stop barrel. And then I throw in the Groove Grip because this is still going to help us with horizontal recoil, but we at least get some ADS move speed, which is very important on SMGs. Then we throw on Fleet and Quick to help out that mobility, and we got the Chariot Marksman because we need that aim down sight speed plus horizontal recoil control so we can actually use it after those 14 meters. Just please try this thing out on Rebirth or Fortune's Keep with this exact setup. Number 6 is the Sten. This SMG is not used nearly enough, and you can use it in one of two ways. You can either use the 36 round for the best mobility SMG in the entire game of Warzone, or the 50 round mag so you get a little bit better damage per mag and it makes it a little bit easier to use in bigger modes. Either way, the time to kill on my setup is either going to be 620 milliseconds or 639. So either way, it's going to have a really fast TTK and we're going to have really good mobility. I don't really know how to describe it, but it feels like you're almost like moving through clouds because you're so light on your feet. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just feels really nice. The only reason it's not higher is because the 36 round mag is going to be a little bit too low for damage per mag to use past duos. Let's just get straight into the class setup. You got to use the recoil booster and this rapid barrel plus the 36 round mag, which actually helps our recoil control, which is another reason I like it a bit more than the 50 round mag, and I kind of use this thing exclusively in solos and duos. But the 50 round mag is still really nice. Everything else will stay the same though. We got stippled for initial recoil because the magazine is so small. It's really important to just hit your first few bullets on the gun, so that's why I'm going for initial firing recoil instead of sustained. And then we got hand stop for the recoil control, acrobatic and quick, and then this Welgun para, which is sprint to fire movement speed, because we're really trying to accentuate its strong suit of mobility. We're halfway through the video, and let's get this thing to 50 likes if you found it useful so far, and subscribe to stay on top of the Warzone meta and get more videos like this. And number 5 is going to be the Type 100. This will actually have the second fastest TTK up close for an SMG at 544 milliseconds. This just absolutely melts people, and it feels great when you're using it, but there's really 2 or 3 cons to it actually, which is why I can't go higher on the list, and that's going to be damage per mag, because we got to use the 36 round clip to get the really fast TTK, and then we also are going to have some pretty hefty recoil on it, which makes it really hard to use past those really close quarters. And then number 3, if you're trying to fix the recoil, the mobility is going to be really bad, and if you just go for mobility, it's going to be way too hard to use for the average player. But that time to kill is just so good, and if you're decent at the game, you can definitely use it in solos and duos. So I'm going to get straight into the class setup. What you do to make the time to kill is the recoil booster, the rapid barrel, and then the Russian 36 round mag. With the 48 round mag, it will still be 612 milliseconds, but I don't think it's accurate enough, and you lose even more mobility by using this. If I'm using it, I'm going with the 36 round. And then from there, I really actually try to help out the recoil as much as I can by using the hand stop, and then the groove grip for horizontal, and then ADS move speed. And then I use this Shiraishi T100 because that's ADS speed and horizontal recoil control, so I'm still getting some mobility aspects while helping out my recoil. This gun works really well if you're an average or better player and you're playing in duos or smaller modes, but it's just limited in how you can use it, which is why I can't put it higher than number 5 on the list. Number 4 is the Welgun. This SMG I think has been completely forgotten about the community, as it's only picked in about 0.8% of loadouts, and when I look at the attachments people are using, they're using it completely wrong because they're rocking with the shrouded barrel instead of the short barrel, which is going to lower your time to kill by about 50 milliseconds, making it perform way worse. This thing is going to have a 639 millisecond TTK when you run it properly. It's going to be super accurate and have amazing mobility. There's only one con to it, and it's going to be damage per mag, but that isn't a big deal when the gun is so easy to use, plus great movement and a really good TTK. This gun needs to be used more, and you need to re-put it into your classes in duos and below. That's pretty much the thing that separates the top 3 SMGs from 4 to 10, is that they don't have any weaknesses to them. But the Welgun is going to be the best of the SMGs that have one weakness to them. And I'm going to get straight into the class setup. We're going to go recoil booster, the short barrel I was talking about, and then the 40 round Gorenko mag, and that's how it's going to be super accurate, super good TTK, and super good mobility. So then I go with the hand stop to help out with that accuracy, and then I go to the fabric grip for the ADS sprint to fire and hip fire control, making it really nice up close, acrobatic quick, and remove stock. You're going to be flying around the map, zoom in. I think this is the slightly better Sten because it's just a little bit easier to use, even if it has a little bit worse mobility. I think the ease of use is better for the majority of players. And number 3 is the MP40. It's been sort of on top of the meta forever. There's a couple SMGs better than it still, but this thing really has no weaknesses. It's just going to have a slightly worse TTK than the next 2 at 616 milliseconds. But once again, people don't run the correct attachments. The MP40, you're going to have amazing mobility just like the Welgun, but you're going to have much better damage per mag, which is where it makes it better, and it also is going to have about a 23 millisecond better TTK. You're going to have slightly more recoil, but really it's not hard to control at all, so I don't think that's a big deal. The MP40 is going to give you good damage per mag, a good time to kill, low recoil, and super fast mobility. There's really no cons to this thing, and that's why it's top 3. You just have to run the correct attachments. That's really the only problem with people who run it, is they're just running it wrong. And let's get around those attachments. The 3 attachments you need is the recoil booster, short barrel, and the 45 round Gorenko mag. If you switch off the recoil booster, you're going to lose about 30 milliseconds on your TTK. If you switch off the short barrel to any other one, you're going to lose about 70 milliseconds, and if you switch off the Gorenko to any other magazine, you're going to lose about 70 milliseconds on your TTK. So it's going to perform way worse if you don't run it properly. Those 3 attachments are locked in stone. The rest you can kind of switch around to what works best for you. But one problem with Vanguard SMGs is that they have bad aim walking movement speed, so I like to run the SG98 compact barrel if the gun doesn't have much recoil, like this MP40. So I throw it on, and that's going to fix one of the issues on Vanguard subs. Then from there, I go with the hatch grip because this helps us with flinch resistance, horizontal and vertical recoil. Then from there, I go for brace initial fire and recoil, just so I get my first few bullets on target right away. And then I go with quick for the movement and the folding stock for movement as well. And this SMG is great, just make sure you're running it properly with those 3 attachments. And number 2 is the H4 Blixen. You guys probably thought this would be number 1, but I'm trying to be a little bit different because there's another SMG I found with a proper build that I like just a little bit more than this, but the Blixen is just completely OP still. How they nerfed it didn't really do anything. You're still going to have the same time to kill across the board. They slightly lowered their mobility, but it's still going to be faster than 99% of the SMGs in Warzone. It still has no recoil. Like, you got a 600 millisecond TTK, super low recoil, super great mobility. There's really no con to it. The damage per mag is insane with the 54 round magazine. And then the only thing they did was like nerf the range by 2 meters, which doesn't really do anything to it. Like, sure, that isn't great, but it's not a big deal. And they lowered the headshot damage, so now it takes 1 extra headshot to lower your TTK, but it's just minimal things that don't really affect the weapon. And the Blixen is still OP. Let's get into class setup. Recoil booster, that's going to get our TTK from 630 to 600. And that's the only thing that affects the TTK on this weapon, because the Gorenko ammo is actually its base ammo, so it doesn't actually increase your fire rate to increase the TTK. And if you don't use the Bergstorm barrel, you're using this gun wrong. This knocks out 45% vertical and horizontal recoil on the weapon, which is why it's so accurate. If you're using anything else, there's just no hope for you. Use the Bergstorm 17-inch barrel. Now from there, you can kind of change a couple things. As you already know, I like to get that strafe speed up, hatch grip for recoil, then we go fleet quick for mobility, and the Bergstorm MB also for some movement and ADS. This thing is just extremely easy to use, extremely good time to kill. You can't go wrong with the Blixen. And number 1 is going to be the Armaguerra. I don't know if you guys saw this coming or not. If you actually put on the proper attachments, you can get the fastest TTK in all of Warzone for an SMG at 540 milliseconds, but that isn't the best way to use it because then your damage per mag and recoil won't be great. The best way to use it is getting a 594 millisecond TTK, which is going to be better than the Blixen. And you really got to compare it to the Blixen to determine that it's the best, because the Blixen has been on top forever. And how does the Armaguerra beat the Blixen? We're going to have a better TTK up close by 6 milliseconds, which isn't that big of a deal. But at mid and long range, on the next 2 TTKs, it wins by 76 milliseconds. Then if we build it out properly, it has really low recoil. Then on top of that, we have a 72 round mag, which is going to give it even better damage per mag. And then where it really wins, and where it's the best for Vanguard SMGs, is actually going to be its ADS strafe speed, and I've already told you how important that is. That's going to allow you to keep momentum in your gunfights to make it harder for enemies to hit you, but you're still going to be able to hit them while you're moving because your gun is so accurate. The only place the Blixen wins is really going to be in sprinting speed, and the Armaguerra wins in bullet velocity, which means it's a versatile SMG that you don't have to only use up at close range, just like that Blixen. And I already said that's my favorite thing to do with SMGs, be able to push the range up to 20, 25, 30 meters. And let's just get into the class setup. So how do we get that good TTK? We go with the recoil booster, and we go with the 72 round mag, and then we throw on vital. So you are going to have to hit some chest shots to get the good TTK, but it's only about half of them. But that's going to be really easy to do with how accurate it is, and because you're only going to be using it to about 30 meters. And the Blixen's the same way, by the way. You do need to hit chest shots on the Blixen to get the good TTK. And then from there, how do I make it extremely accurate? I throw on this Amaretto 550mm barrel, which is recoil accuracy, flinch resistance, and bullet velocity. It makes it an absolute beam. That lowered 45% recoil on vertical and horizontal, so you have to be running that. Then from there, we go slate reflector. We got the Amaretto skeletal, because this is going to be our aim walking movement speed that we're really trying to enhance because it is so elite in that category. Then just got tape grip and quick to help with the mobility, because the 72 round mag does slow our movement a bit. And if you want to know what the top 10 ARs, I'll have a video linked here, and if you want to see that Tommy gun video for a more in-depth reason of why it's so good, I'll have that linked as well. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.